Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this September 26th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon, and all of our content is available on the EOA.network. There also is a place where if you want to support us and you appreciate the content that we bring you, there's a place where you can support us also. Here in a bit, we are going to have President and CEO Jeremy Davis from Grand Round Hospital will be here to talk to us about the build that they're just finishing and the grand opening, or the ribbon cutting, the public ribbon cutting, which is tomorrow. So, how are you, man?
Good morning.
I saw the volleyball pictures.
First Friday.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. First Friday.
Yeah.
We got. I was looking on social media this morning because I was wondering where Bud was. You know, like he didn't say nothing on Tuesday. He's in recovery.
Yeah, I had known that he had. Yeah, I had known that he was.
Yeah. So
he was having some hip work done. Yeah.
Hopefully he gets home soon. So I mean, he'll probably tune in from wherever he is. But I was like, man, Bud hasn't said anything today, so I knew that there was something going on. So I checked in on it.
Good.
Yeah, he's doing good though, I think. So
far.
Yeah. Another day. We have kind of a slow weekend, thankfully. Not really, but kind of.
Yeah, we don't have
to stream any games.
Yeah, there are no out of the three teams. There are no home games this week.
They're all on the road.
Yeah,
they're all on the road, I think they all play. I'll talk about it.
Yeah, which is good. Tanya and I have been doing the away games, and we had a busy weekend last weekend, and so then when we looked on the schedule, it's like, oh man, that's great.
Yeah,
we've
no
got
games this weekend.
We've got some home projects we're trying to make headway on.
Oh,
so.
Fun. Sounds just fun. Before the winter gets here.
Well, it's fun because we've got family. My side of the family will be at our house for Thanksgiving, and then her side of the family will be at our house for Christmas. And we have a sunroom on the back of the house that we put a real roof on and insulating the ceiling, and so we're trying to make that.
My house I grew up in had a sunroom on it.
What's that?
The house I grew up in on Washington had a sunroom. It still does, I think, but it was the toy room for the little kids, because there's a gap between me and my brother and the two younger ones of 10 and 14 years. Mm-hmm. And so they were the younger kids had their rooms upstairs. There was 3 bedrooms, mom and dad, the 2 kids, and then the sunroom was on the back of the house, and that was their toy room. Yeah. And then the big kids had the basement, which it was a full apartment. I mean, it had full kitchen. Yeah. 3 bedrooms, bathroom.
It's kind of funny because in the Old West they called sunrooms lean-tos. That's that construction where you just attach, you kind of extend the roof.
I think this was built as part of the house.
Yeah.
Like I think it was actually like.
Oh, so it wasn't added on.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it was built. I think it was part of the original house, and so it's not like. Yeah. Slanted. It's just a normal room, but it's. 2 sides of it is completely windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's common around here.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Maybe because it's cold in the winter and people. I don't know.
I don't know. I think Tanya had that one built, with the hope of maybe it being a place where she could grow stuff and so on and so forth. And
is that what those are for generally?
Generally, yeah. It's kind of like a a little plant growing place. What do they call those things that people have in their backyard?
Greenhouses?
Yeah, little greenhouse that's attached. Huh. I think that's kind of the idea. So.
Yeah, I didn't know what those were necessarily for. I thought they were just so you could like sit out there and let yourself get some sun when it's not real.
That might be the case too.
Outside.
I went to the Wildcat open house. So. LeGrand School District has built, or the middle school has a gymnasium athletic complex that they added to, and went to that open house yesterday. And I'll have some pictures that I'll post.
Was there a lot of people there?
Yeah. I mean, I was at the pre-event to the public event. Yeah, but still, it was good, and it was that windstorm right in the middle.
Oh, I saw some pictures and some video on the internet. Yeah. Out on Booth Lane. Mm-hmm. It literally looked like those videos from like the Middle East.
Yeah.
Where people are out in the middle of the desert and they get caught in a.
And there,
Yeah, I mean you can't see 5 feet in front of you.
No, it was
crazy.
Yeah, it was. And then they had a little fire.
I saw that too.
Yeah, that was I was headed home.
Grain?
Yeah, at wood grain, and that was anyhow lots of activity.
Just natural combustion on a wood pile, just from.
That's what the firefighter thought.
Yeah.
Thought it was. Yeah.
Happens.
And people might not know that when you have debris that just sits, it spoils.
Yeah.
And creates mold, and it creates heat. Silage does that too. So.
Oh yeah.
And hay bales. I mean, you'll have that. Sometimes you'll have a haystack fire, or a, anyhow. Yeah. That's what they. All right, want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress right here in LeGrand. Go check out their showroom. The Daggett family does a lot for this community, including supporting local athletics. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. LHS boys soccer dropped a road contest against Ontario on Tuesday, 3-1. They host Nissa today at 4 o'clock at Community Stadium. So if you don't have anything to do, there's going to be a doubleheader, which I'm going to tell you about right now. LHS girls soccer hosts Ontario tonight at Community Stadium as well at 6 o'clock. So if you don't have anything going on, get up there and support the Tigers. LHS volleyball has a home game as well tonight. The Tigers host Baker for their first GOL matchup tonight. That first serve for that game is at 6:30 p.m., and that is at the high school gym. LHS football goes to Nissa tomorrow night for a 7 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff versus the Bulldogs. Around the GOL, Baker goes to Cascade. Pendleton goes to Estacada. Ontario is on their bye week this week, and Crook County goes to Gladstone. In football around the valley, Imbler goes to Crane tomorrow night. Powder Valley hosts Elgin for the Badgers homecoming. Union goes to Pilot Rock, and Cove hosts Adrian. With all these games are slated for a 7 p.m. kickoff tomorrow night. And a lot of them are on NFHS. I know the LeGrand game's on NFHS, so if you have access to that, that's where you can watch the LeGrand Nissa game. EOU volleyball. First off, congratulations to Haley Aratola on being named the NAIA National Defender of the Week. She was named Defender of the Week for the conference for the first time ever, which is crazy to me because she's one of the best liberos in the conference. And then she also got the national award. So congrats to her. It's her senior year. She's a huge part of that team. Last night at Quinn, EOU volleyball hosted College of Idaho, and it ended in a sweep, but the first set was... we didn't play that well. We ended up winning 29-27, but we let the Yotes have a little bit of hope. And in the second set, we just came out and shut the door. And this EOU volleyball team's as good or better than any of the teams in the past few years. They're going to make a run at a national championship. They really are. Right now, they're ranked number 2 in the country. They host Multnomah and Warner Pacific this weekend. The Warner Pacific game's at 4 on Saturday. And excuse me. The Warner Pacific game is at 6 on Friday. The Multnomah game's at 4 on Saturday. This team's currently 14-1 to Southern on the road. And the Southern, Corbin, and EOU are all ranked in the top 10. EOU beat Corbin. Corbin beat Southern. Southern beat EOU. So we'll see how it all washes out. I'm assuming EOU is going to win the Cascade. They're tough. They really are. EOU football goes to Billings for a 1 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff versus Rocky on Saturday. The Mountie football team looks to get their first win of the season after a rough 0-3 start. There's like Brent and I were talking about a few minutes ago, there's no home games for us to stream this weekend. So it's an odd, kind of going to be kind of a quiet weekend around here. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Go see the Daggett family. Check out their showroom.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've never been to one of the volley. I mean, I think I have. It's been several years that I've been to one of their volleyball.
You got tickets in the van?
I do. I know. I saw that.
I saw the tickets in there.
Yeah.
It's hot when it's packed like that. It's so dang hot in there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, you'll have to help me know which game to go to. Tanya and I will go to a game.
You want probably Corbin or Southern at home. I think we go there and they come here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the two.
No, it's funny. We went to, I think it was the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and we won the EOU. That they have the table prizes. Yeah. And so that we got a ticket to a football game, and we got a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, and a volleyball game, and yeah.
I got a permanent ticket.
You kind of got.
They actually put out press passes this year with your name on them. That's the first time I've ever seen one of those. Like usually it's just
Yeah.
I mean, I have a press pass for there, but it's like nobody ever questioned. And I just clip it on my backpack. Like I don't carry my backpack with me, so hopefully nobody ever shakes me down. Cause I don't wear it. The lanyard they gave me was like a choker for me. Yeah. It's like a little micro mini lanyard.
Yeah. So hey, I want to make you all aware, remind you that on October the 3rd, I think that's next Thursday, we are having a candidate forum. We'll be streaming that on our network, but it will be in person at the LeGrand High School auditorium. That will be for the 2 sheriff candidates and the 2 Union County Commissioner candidates. If you have a question that you want to submit, you can scan that QR code or go to that URL and submit your question. There will also be an opportunity for people to submit questions the night of at the event also. So be sure to check that out.
And for people that don't know, it's the commissioners that are running, Jake Sievert and Mark Simmons, and then the sheriffs, Cody Bowen and Shane Rollins.
Yep. Yeah. So, and those are the 4 that will be on the ballot just right around the corner. So
yeah, it's coming right up. I mean, it's like a month away, a little over a month, just barely.
Yeah, and we're doing that. I mean, we're sponsoring that in conjunction with the Union County Chamber of Commerce. So it's been a good relationship for us to process that through. All right, we'll be back here in just a minute with President and CEO from Grand Ronde Hospital, Jeremy Davis. See you in a minute.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
When it's packed.
Yeah. All right, all right. Let's just come back to our interview here. We'll do weather afterwards. So, all right. Hey, how are you, Jeremy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Sorry about that little jump in.
Hey, you're fine.
Yeah.
Quickie.
Yeah. So, how you doing, man?
I'm good. It's exciting. It's a busy week. We're about to do our grand unveiling of the new building, and from what I hear, Sunset's going to open up here soon. I don't know if folks are more excited about the building or Sunset opening up, but just a big week and a chance to celebrate our staff and our community, and I think about what the school district with their Wildcat Center, and so just a lot of exciting things in Union County and investments in healthcare and education, which is exciting.
Yeah, you were there at the pre-opening yesterday. I want to say, I mean, they call it the VIP, but it's like I feel like the little kid at the big kids party when I go to those things. So, but no, and it's interesting, and it's funny because George was just here last week recently, and we talked about how these 2 gigantic projects. I mean, certainly there's a big difference between the size of them, but still for little old LeGrand, you have you don't have construction projects like that happening every day. And the grand openings are 2 days apart from each other.
Yeah. Well, again, I think you look at a lot of rural communities in the United States and they're just barely holding on, and then here you look at Union County, you look at LeGrand, and we're growing and expanding. We're seeing new small businesses. We're you've got Harbor Freight, you've got some other businesses that are opening up. And so, again, I think we've got a great community, and we're continuing to try to grow and expand and make it a great place to live for families.
Yeah, awesome. Now, you and I have had lots of conversations. We've been talking about this project. We did some video production at the beginning of it, and so I've been kind of on the front end of the entire project. And so, but catch people up on why this was necessary, and this isn't this. Yeah, I mean, give us a little background here.
Simply put, building codes change, and we basically had been grandfathered in terms of the ceiling height in our ORs for our HVAC system, and we were on a waiver, and that waiver was going to expire in 2028. I'm pretty certain we could have asked for that waiver to be extended, given the pandemic and everything that it's just disrupted the entire world. But I think Grand Ron, we're an organization that really doesn't like to kick the can down the road, and so we worked earnestly we brought in a consultant, we did a master facility plan. Luckily, the board had been preparing and saving and good financial stewardship for many, many years, knowing that we were going to have to reinvest in our facility anyways. So the time came where we had the funds. We did take on some debt as well, but there is good debt for the right reasons and for the right amount, and and we decided to kick that project off. And so the other thing too is, beyond just the code compliance and kind of the changes and updates in terms of building codes, we have grown significantly. We've gone from about 62 employee providers to now almost 90. Our surgical volume has grown by 20 or 30% over the last 4 or 5 years. And so our community has been very supportive of us and staying local for their care, and we really wanted to meet that demand and that interest head on. So, we could have waited until every little thing was quoted out in terms of the build, but we figured if we would have done so, we'd probably be breaking ground about now. Mm-hmm. It certainly wasn't easy to kick off a project during the pandemic, but and especially being on a hillside there. But I look at where we're at today, and I can't imagine not having this building ready to go and start doing surgeries next month to be able to take care of our community.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you been, I presume that you've walked through the project?
Oh, yeah.
Has that been something you've been kind of monitoring personally?
I've got my own little hard hat with my name on it, and I'll keep that as a token and memento forever. Yeah. But I should say souvenir. Memento is Spanish for souvenir.
We need to get you some Buckeyes for the back.
I know.
That would be sweet.
Yeah. And I think that's what's amazing about this is that those early stages when you're just looking at documents and plans and renderings, to then start seeing the superstructure come up and start walking through and start to visualize it, to now you're seeing the finished product with finishes and paint and ceiling tiles and some artwork and it all come together, and it's just beautiful. It's clean, it's fresh, lots of natural sunlight. I really think the community, when they have a chance to look at it, they're going to be impressed. We've had we showed it to our staff yesterday. We had kind of an open house for our employees, and just the excitement and the energy. And some of our newer physicians and surgeons that are here, they'll tell you when they walked in, they thought they were in a big city hospital. Yeah. In terms of how it looks and feels and the amenities. And really that, as you know, big city medicine, hometown touch is kind of our tagline, and we want to rival those big city hospitals with the care and compassion and services we provide, but it's that hometown touch, taking care of our neighbors, that really sets us apart.
Yeah, let's roll that drone video, and this is a video that I've shot over the last 2 years. It's funny, I was looking at the files the other day, and the mother folder is called, GRH Construction 22. Yeah, and so it was just, who would have, it's taken a while, but it has just gone by really quickly,
No, and kudos to Boughton Construction and our architects, PKA. They have just been tremendous to work with. and have gotten involved in the community and have donated to food drives and others. And they also made it a priority to identify contractors and trades locally to try to keep as much of those construction dollars local. But yeah, it's been 2 years, but it doesn't seem like it's been 2 years.
Right. So now the heliport is when's the target date for it opening?
Yeah, so we are hoping as early as the end of the month. We were hoping to be able to land a helicopter tomorrow.
Okay, that was
for the grand opening, but we don't have the certificate of occupancy yet to be able to land.
Okay.
So the individual that licensed the helipad is back east, and so we want to make sure that all of our ducks were in order before we commission that person to fly out and certify the space. So the last I heard is hopefully by the end of the month is we'll be able to resume landing on the helipad.
And then when will the ORs actually be functional and open?
Yeah, so as soon as we finish the open house tomorrow with the community and get to show off the space, we'll then get hard to work to clean that place up and get it ready for tip-top shape. And then the goal is to hopefully do surgeries the last week of October or possibly the first or second week of November.
Wow.
So
now I have my wife Tanya works for GRH, and so does my daughter, and so I'm aware of just how you guys use space, and there's a constant Tetris game going on there. You'll move this organization, and I know that those decisions aren't, those are made with people that work for you. But how do you guys? What's the plan for using the space that's going to be vacated? The OR space. Is there?
Yeah. So it is a little bit of musical chairs. So as the ORs and the pre-op area move into the new building, we'll also have a new cafeteria and dining space, which is just beautiful and magnificent. And we already have quite a few folks from the community that dine at the hospital, and I imagine we're going to have more because we're going to revamp the menus and what we're offering. But as those spaces move into the new building, we're going to have available space to play with. And so it seems like every time we've done a construction project at Grand Ron, in the moment we open up a new service, it's too small.
Yeah.
And so we are working with a consultant right now, and we're developing a new master facility plan to start looking at some of those bigger puzzle pieces of where should this move, where should that move, that service needs a little bit more space. What new services do we want to try to bring to LeGrand and Union County? How much space does it need? So it's a really data-driven initiative and endeavor to kind of weave that puzzle together. So we've got a plan for space allocation for the future. But it's always subject to change depending on, retirements, new services, provider recruitment. But at least now we want to have a plan that we can kind of march towards.
Yeah. Now, the hospital is the largest private employer in the county. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually up around 800 employees now.
Yeah.
I think we represent about 4.8% of the workforce here in Union County.
Yeah.
And almost $80 million in wages and benefits.
Wow.
A year.
Wow.
And so, obviously we play a huge role in terms of healthcare access and health and wellness in the community, but in terms of financial health, think about all those dollars that are staying local and are being spent local that are supporting small businesses and our employees that are volunteering their time to coach Little League or do 4-H. So it really is a community affair and a labor of love.
Is there ever a time that you're at home or you're off, you're unconnected, and it's like, I'm responsible for these 800 people? I mean, clearly you have leaders that are accountable to you, but I mean, is that pretty daunting at times?
It is. I'll tell you, it was, especially during the pandemic.
I can't imagine.
You worried about not only these employees. We've seen that a lot of rural hospitals are reducing services, and many are getting acquired by other hospitals and then laying off staff. And there is a real human element to what we do. And when you live in a community and you see these colleagues and their families, you do feel an immense sense of responsibility. This is more than just providing healthcare services. This is you're responsible for being able to, the decisions you make may impact these individuals' livelihoods, and that's no small. What's the word I'm looking for? That's no small thing to not worry about. And so it is significant, and I think again that's what is great about Grand Ron is that we're independent. Money is local, decisions are local, and it really is a family feel, and we do really care about our employees, and yeah, it is daunting at times.
So I know that you are very good at talking about rural health care, and in fact, Congress, you went back and talked about that in front of a panel at Congress and so on and so forth. Can you give us a little bit of a scope of what's going on, how GRH fits into that? But I really would like to have you, without throwing them under the bus too much, I mean, look at your hometown, Baker City, what has happened there, and compare the instability of that to the stability. I mean, I think that people really need to understand that story.
Yeah, it's complex because, every hospital and every community is unique. But the fact of the matter is most rural hospitals are in communities where they're going to have a higher percentage of Medicare or Medicaid patients. And typically, Medicare and Medicaid don't even pay us what it costs us to provide the care. Not what we charge, but what it costs. And then you throw in the pandemic on top of it. So you had a lot of these hospitals that were already struggling financially. Leading up to the pandemic, I believe there was about 148 rural hospitals that had closed since 2010. We were averaging about 2 a month in the United States. And then you throw in this crisis situation where patients stopped coming into hospitals because they were scared of getting COVID. Or we had to stop doing elective surgeries at the request of governors because they wanted to preserve PPE. And so typically a crisis like that doesn't make you stronger financially. and now luckily the federal government stepped in and there were some federal relief dollars, and so that buoyed up a lot of rural hospitals. But now that those federal relief funds have pretty much been spent, we're starting to see an uptick in rural hospitals that are closing or reducing services. And so it's a complex matter. Most of the hospitals that are closing are in the southeast, although there are some that are closing out west, and some aren't rural. In fact, the hospital in Eugene closed, and that's not a rural hospital. So it's just it's a difficult industry. It's a very complex matrix of how hospitals get reimbursed, and we also recognize that healthcare is very expensive in the United States, and Grand Ron, along with a lot of other hospitals, are trying to address that issue of affordability. And speaking of maternity services, that is probably the #1 service, that and behavioral health and oncology, that are closing in rural hospitals in the United States. Just because those service lines typically don't make money or aren't self-sufficient in and of themselves because of the reimbursement. And luckily for us, we did about 240, 250 deliveries a year. We're now up to about 300 a year now. We're getting a lot more patients now out of Baker County that are coming to see us. But it's tough. Access to maternal services in the United States is a challenge right now. And I do applaud Senator Wyden and others in Congress that are trying to address this because there are maternal deserts that are popping up, and hopefully we can be on the front end of trying to preserve that critical access of maternal services.
Right, and so maternal services, OB services in Baker recently closed.
Yeah, a year ago.
And so then, and I didn't really, this really came home to me when I was talking to somebody from Baker City, and they were saying, yeah, it's like if you try and hire a new teacher that's coming in to work in the school district, and they're young and they're having a family, and they're going like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to have to drive to LeGrand or Boise or somewhere else for those OB services. I mean, that's a big deal.
It is, and they kind of call it a three-legged stool. For a good community, a strong community, you've got to have health care, you have to have really strong education, and then that third leg is you can choose what you want. Some communities will say it's churches, some will say it's law enforcement. But nobody debates that you have to have good health care and you have to have good education to have a really strong community. And if you don't have good health care, you're right. You're going to have a challenge recruiting professionals to your community. You're probably not going to get small business owners that want to try and prop up a business or relocate a business to that town because they want access to healthcare services. And this is where I think, we're just so grateful for the support that we've received from the community, and that, I hate to use the term buy local because, healthcare, I don't know if it's something you really shot for, because if you had your way, you don't really want to use healthcare services.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody, I don't know of anybody who enjoys getting a shot or having a surgery, but the fact that we've had great community support, we've been able to continue to grow and reinvest. And I think that synergy and that momentum has carried us through the pandemic and has allowed other organizations to invest in their respective businesses that make the community stronger. So
this is a little bit of a harder question, financial question. I know that, finances, you're in the middle of that. So certainly, one of the things that has been done, and you've helped propagate that, is to expand services. Whatever that might be. And you could name those right off the top of your head. Some of those services probably don't pay for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then how do you balance that? I presume that orthopedic stuff, that's probably a pretty good, you hope that that's a moneymaker.
Yeah, it does well.
But you've got to balance other stuff that doesn't. So how do you but at the same time, because you care about the community, because the hospital is independent, because you're wanting people to shop local and all of those things, how do you make those decisions? How do you increase, you get where I'm going here. Yeah.
It's a balancing act. And luckily, we're a hospital that's financially stable. And even during the pandemic, we were able to make a profit every year. And so when you're in a position of stability, it allows you to reinvest in some of those services that maybe don't generate a profit for the organization. And I think, again, that's what differentiates Grand Ronde from a lot of other hospitals, is that we don't just look at the financial return of the service line. We also look at the community benefit. We are very much focused on community health and community engagement. And we also recognize that if we're going to lower the cost of health care for whether it's Union County residents or on a broader scale Americans, we've got to figure out ways to keep them out of the ER, and in some regards keep them out of the hospital. And so a lot of insurance companies and a lot of other contracts are moving towards value-based care. To where we're trying to get upstream and create a healthier community, and that's where the incentive is. And so it's a balancing act, but again, luckily for us, we have had great financial stewardship for many, many decades, and so we're not in that kind of boom or bust situation as a lot of these really rural hospitals are. That has allowed us to, when we hear of needs that are unmet in the community, we can analyze that and say, you know what? Yeah, we can do that. We've got the staff, we've got the resources. Let's prop that up because that's going to make a difference. A great example I'll tell you is in the past, if there was a patient who had dialysis, who was on dialysis in this community, and they came to our hospital and needed to be admitted to the hospital, they were likely going to be flown out because we did not offer dialysis services in the hospital. And most people who are on dialysis need that every 2 or 3 days. And so if they came into the ER and had pneumonia and needed to be admitted for 2 or 3 days in the hospital, they were going to miss their dialysis treatment. And so by virtue of missing that dialysis treatment, they needed to be flown out. That's not cool.
Right.
And so our team worked really hard for many years, and we bought a couple hemodialysis machines. We partnered with a couple nephrologists via telemedicine, and we were just able to prop that up this year. And so you're talking potentially 25 to 30 patients a year. That's a lot of effort and a lot of work for 24 to 25 to 26 patients a year. But I'll tell you what, if that's one of our colleagues, one of our coworkers, one of our employees' parents or grandparents, if it's one of our neighbors or one of our community members, it's worth it.
Right.
And that's an avoidable cost. They don't have to get flown out anymore. And then you couple with the fact that our readmission rates at Grandin Hospital are, we were already below the national average, state and national average, and we just reduced it by 40%. So you are less likely to end up back in our hospital within 30 days. That is quality health care.
Right.
And so we have a sense of pride that if you come to our hospital, that we want to take care of you because we do good work.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you. So a little bit of a question. Why, and I know I'm asking you questions that I know the answer to, but I want you to explain this to people because I think it's important. Why is it important to build such a beautiful facility right now? I mean, why, when I was at the high school or at the Wildcat Center yesterday, just the amount of equipment.
Yeah.
The chairs, the tables, and George talked about how whenever we could buy a more quality, something more quality, we did that for the benefit. But so there's a whole ton of value judgments, and I know that the chairs in the waiting rooms are super expensive, and I know that. So why is it important to build such a beautiful facility? Because I know that when people go into this, there's gonna be some wow. Why was that important?
Well, I think partly of why you build something nice is it's a representation of what you value. And so if you value quality and you value a warm experience and you value your employees and you value your patients, you want them to step into something that hopefully in a brief moment, they might forget that they're in a hospital. So the concept of health and healing, especially on the healing side of that, there's a lot that goes into that, whether it's the paint colors, whether it's the textures on the floor or on the chair. There's a whole lot of things that go into that, natural sunlight. And so I think for us, the priority was we wanted the building to be structurally sound and be a resource for this community, hopefully for another century to come. But then it starts to, some of those finishes then start to matter. And certainly we made some judgments on things depending on cost of where to prioritize things. And it wasn't just me. We have a big team of folks that were involved, both clinicians and facilities folks. And I think when the community steps into that building, they're going to see a space that feels warm, that feels like it's a place of healing. And I know for our cafeteria and dining space, the goal is that our employees, again, might forget for a brief moment that they're having lunch in a hospital. Because you think about what we just went through with the pandemic, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of frustration. And so when you think about workforce resiliency and workforce well-being, having a space that allows you to relax for a few minutes can be just as rejuvenating as a vacation, hopefully.
Well, and it's one thing I know as a patient is, when I've had to go out of town for procedures that couldn't be done here, that I appreciated, when I sat in that environment, it's what is expected.
Yeah.
If you're going to do quality health care, there is a particular look to it.
Yeah.
And so, could you save money? And so then from the patient standpoint, the experience that I experience at home should be similar to what I experience. It's the big city medicine, small town touch, and so it's what's expected. It's the standard.
And I think it's no different than your own personal home and your own personal expenditures. Is you got to make, unfortunately, some value propositions and value judgments of what types of shoes you're going to wear, what brand, if any, what car you drive, or what furniture you're going to put into your home. We're no different in terms of how we're going to outfit the facility. We want to make sure that, especially for the surgical equipment and everything else, that's top notch.
Right.
But when it comes to the chairs, we want them to be comfortable. We want them to be durable. And then I think it goes along, we just put out a press release where we received the 4-star HCAHPS award. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding what that is. You know, when patients come to our hospital, they may receive a survey, and these survey questions are a set of standardized questions that every hospital in the United States has to ask of their patients. And when patients fill out that survey at their own free will and choice, that data is aggregated and statistically validated, and then it's benchmarked against other hospitals in the United States. And we were recognized as a 4-star, which puts us in the upper tier of hospitals. And so again, I think that speaks to the culture of our staff and that the caring and compassion, that we really are taking care of our neighbors. And it's a difference maker when you're gonna, and we hope for the patients too, that it's comforting to see that the person that they might see at the rodeo or at the fair or refereeing a high school football game is also the person that's doing their registration at the hospital, or they're the ones that's taking care of them as a nurse, or their physician is also their son's basketball coach. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sense of community and that interconnectedness, I think, really is what makes healthcare special in a rural community.
Okay, so we're going to give you a chance to brag a little bit about yourself, but there's a downside too, and that is and this is more the Windy Roberts area. How much do you guys donate? How much do you essentially write off every year? So in other words, people come in, they receive services, and it's either discounted or written off totally.
So our community benefit number, it ranges between about $5 and $8 million a year. And so that is in-kind services, that's, community support, some public health projects, but also financial assistance. Really proud of Grand Ron. This was in place before I arrived, but our financial assistance policy was one of the most generous in the state. So we qualified more people for financial assistance than what was legally, or not legally, but regulatorily required of hospitals. And I think that also shows that we really care about our community and our neighbors. And we know that healthcare is expensive. And now the state did raise the threshold a couple years ago, and we were already hitting it. But I think that just speaks to where our minds are and where we look, is how can we take care of this community? The dollars are local, the care is local, and we want to continue to have that eye towards our community and their health and wellness.
Thank you. And so then the other side of that is healthcare is expensive, as you mentioned. Why? Help us understand a $10 aspirin, for instance. Yeah, I don't know if that's what they're running these days or what, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
To simplify it, we have to we have to create a charge master, or a charge for everything that we administer and every service that we provide, and we have to charge that regardless of the type of insurance that they have. And so when you have insurance that doesn't cover the cost of what it costs to provide the service, we have to, like most businesses, there's going to be a markup.
Right.
And so we have to create a charge that's high enough that allows for the aggregate payments from the various payers that come in to cover the cost and have enough to create a profit, so we can reinvest into our employees, we can reinvest into our facility and our services. And so that's why you hear these crazy stories, is that you have to charge a pretty high number because it's backing into a number because of the various different rates that we get paid from insurers.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So does the hospital, so obviously hospital services are something that we have to have, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, you're dying, you got to go to the hospital. Is that why you can do that? Because, like, if I go to Safeway and I want to buy a head of lettuce, say, and I only have 30 cents, the next guy's not going to pay $1 more for the head of lettuce because I only paid 30 cents. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, so no, I don't think it has nothing to do with because we're the only hospital in town. The reality is we benchmark our charges to other hospitals. And in fact,
okay.
Again, and you also have to look at the cost of the service. So, For example, if you want to take the ER, for example, that's a 24/7 department. We never know if 2 patients are going to come in or 62 are going to come in.
Yep.
And so we have to staff that at a minimum level based upon historical norms of volume, and we have to then create a charge structure that's going to cover that cost.
Gotcha.
And allow us to then also upgrade the equipment that's going to be needed, and so on and so forth. So, in fact, some benchmark data that we have is we are right in the middle in the state in terms of our charges on a kind of a per unit basis. And so we're not the cheapest, but we're also not the most expensive. And that's kind of where we want to be, is we want to be right there in the middle. And again, we've got the financial assistance policy. But we recognize that, again, and actually our new strategic plan, one of our key pillars is population health. We want to get upstream. You know, our foundation, which is helping to raise funds for this project, it's a Healthier Together campaign, and really it's about getting upstream to raise funds to allow us to get upstream and try to bring in more primary care docs, expand behavioral health services. Because the goal, ultimately, if hospitals do their job well, is we won't need hospitals.
Right.
I mean, we are seriously trying to figure out how to keep this community healthy at our own.
You're investing in that.
At our own solvency.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the right thing to do.
Do you think that that's the public's biggest misconception, like the whole chart? You always hear people say, "I paid $47 to have him stick a needle in my arm," or whatever. You know what I mean? Do you think that's the biggest misconception?
There's lots of misconceptions, but the fact is healthcare is it's highly regulated, and it's extremely expensive.
There's a lot that goes into it.
And there's a lot that goes in. Think of it as a blender. I mean, there's all kinds of different ingredients, but once you mix it, it's hard to pull one thing out and just say, well, that's it.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that our board and executive team, we recognize that affordability and cost and quality and outcomes and patient experience are extremely important.
Right.
And obviously we've got great community support, and we're grateful for that.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know that is something that's often misunderstood. And the other thing that people don't understand is that you might set a price, but you have insurance, and they're going to say, "No, this is what we're going to pay you."
Pretty much nobody pays that price.
End of the story. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of the analogies I like to give is, it's like healthcare is just so different. You know, we render the service, and then you pay 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks later, it seems like. And, but, if I were to go into McDonald's and say, I want that Big Mac meal, but I only want to pay $1.20, McDonald's isn't probably going to give you that Big Mac meal.
Yeah,
right?
You're not getting a Big Mac.
But here, we render the service, and then we get payment way later. And so it's a very, again, how healthcare is paid for and financed in the United States is very complex. And, I know there's lots of efforts to try to streamline it and make it simpler. And we've got financial counselors that are there to help explain it and help people understand it. But, we render the care, and then we figure out the payment later.
Yeah.
And again, we try to qualify as many people as we can for financial assistance who don't have the insurance to be able to cover it.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit, and I know you have a lot of experience in this. Talk to me about what it's involved in recruiting physicians to rural.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how we've done in that area.
Yeah, so recruiting providers is tough. It's a very competitive landscape. I mean, even before the pandemic, we had a shortage of providers in the United States, and predominantly providers don't want to practice in rural medicine. And so we're already kind of got our backs against the wall. And this again is where a sense of community and a hospital that looks well, shows well, you have great people, great culture. People can sense that very quickly. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've got a new urologist here who he just started in August, and the nice thing is when he came to interview, we were able to show him the new building and the new ORs. Now they weren't finished yet, But he was really, really impressed, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to operate in one of those.
Right.
And so that's another reason why we've invested so much into this building, is because it is a recruitment and retention tool. Because end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're a surgeon or whether you're a carpenter, you want to have the tools to do the job.
Right.
And sometimes it's space that you need as a tool. We've also got great imaging equipment for rural hospitals. So we've invested heavily on, again, those big city medicine tools and resources, because we want physicians to feel like they're not coming to a rural hospital, that they're coming to, name any hospital in the country. And you almost want to get rid of that rural part, because you feel like when you say rural, then it's going to be lesser.
Right.
There's going to be a compromise. And the reality is technically we're considered a rural hospital by definition, but we rival those big city hospitals with the care and with the equipment that we have. And and I think the community, the sense of community here is also very important. The fact that the school district has been investing and growing, with Central Elementary, the new elementary school in the last decade plus, the new Wildcat Center, with some new small businesses and so forth. You've got EOU here and their new field house and the sports. There's a lot of people that can see them in the recreational activities we have here. They can see themselves living here, because we're not a boom or bust town.
Right.
We're stable, we're growing, and most of these providers want to come to a place that they're going to be valued and be able to make a difference and take care of the community, and they can do that here.
Recruiting providers for you, I like to liken it to recruiting athletes at EOU. It's very similar. Yeah. Like, star athletes don't say, I want to go to EOU.
Yeah.
They come here, they experience the facilities and the culture, and then that's what draws them in. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like, growing up, I didn't want to go to EOU. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to go to somewhere big time, Long Beach, or you know what I mean. So, but the culture and the facilities is what really draws the people in.
And the other thing that's been huge for us, as I mentioned, we're up to almost 800 employees now. I think we've got almost 90 employed providers. And so when somebody's being recruited, they see a hospital that's got an infrastructure and a critical mass where they're not coming to a medical desert.
All right.
Where they're going to be the only doctor within a 180-mile radius and have to, get on a horse and go to the four corners of the county to deliver care. And so there's going to be a camaraderie, there's a teamwork, there's a medical community where when a complex medical issue comes up, there's other resources in play. And so, that's hasn't been built overnight. That's been in the making for decades. And, and again, I think, the hospital, and you got the school district and the university, and just, we all know this. It's a wonderful place to live and raise a family. We have a lot that's going for us, and hopefully we can keep it that way.
Yeah. And I'm fortunate. I take the physician or provider photos when they come in and so on. So I kind of have this opportunity to have first crack at them, sometimes before they've even arrived here permanently, And I ask them, where are you from and why did you choose? And the response I get many times is when I looked at the amount of services that is offered by a GRH. I mean, it's the lack of medical desert. They felt like, wow, this is good. Yeah.
Everybody that comes and interviews, I meet with them in my office, and one of the first things out of their mouth is, "You're bigger than I thought." I mean, I try to explain it over the phone during a phone interview, and we've got videos that we sent them, and a provider recruitment video that you helped us create, and to try to, market how special we are here.
Right.
But until you see it, and you get to see the faces of our staff, and you get to walk the halls, and you get to see the buildings and the structures, then it really comes to a head, and they're like, "Wow, you weren't kidding. You are bigger than most rural hospitals." And I think that's again just been a big draw for us, is that they can make a difference, but not feel like they're going to be on an island.
So are we unique? I mean, I know we are, but when you've had the opportunity to look at other rural hospitals that are like us, I mean, are you happy with where we are in comparison to others?
Yeah, I think, I am very happy. Is there opportunities for improvement and growth? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you scan the landscape, we should be very proud of what we're doing and our accomplishments. And it's not easy. It takes, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and I think it takes a village to support a community hospital.
For sure.
And so, we're very privileged and very fortunate to be where we're at, especially when you consider the political landscape and the reimbursement landscape, and healthcare is always in the crosshairs. This presidential election, we're not seeing healthcare as much as a hot topic, but when healthcare, I think, is over 20% of the GDP in the country, I mean, it's a topic.
Right.
And these baby boomers are starting to age, and that was another reason why we wanted to invest in this facility. Is we anticipate the Medicare population to grow in Union County, and typically when you get older, you need healthcare services, and we wanted to make sure that they had access to those healthcare services here.
Yeah.
Right at home.
Awesome.
So you guys, and we talked with this about George, you guys bought the property right across the street. And I like to say that's my suggestion. I think I asked somebody, how come you don't, but I know you guys have been thinking about that. What's your plans there?
We were thinking about putting in Topgolf. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be a good spot.
Not really, with the kids playing at recess.
Okay.
No, the real goal, we're landlocked there, and so as we've continued to grow, we needed kind of a pressure relief valve, and so I'm grateful for the school district and partnering with us and selling us that land. So right now, once Boughton Construction vacates that space, we're going to put some surface level parking. So parking is probably the number one issue that we hear from our employees and from our patients. And then hopefully down the road, we can maybe put a parking structure there. But we've got to get this existing project completed, and we've got that was a pretty expensive build, and buy ourselves a little bit of time, but hopefully we'll be able to address some parking there, or maybe we'll have to put some medical service buildings there or something down the road. But
is there that bad of a parking problem? I don't go there often.
Yeah.
But like when I've gone up to like the ER and everything, there's always parking.
During the early morning hours, especially when you've got surgeries and people coming in for other appointments, it can be pretty jammed up.
Right.
Again, people tolerate it, and it made it a little worse because Sunset was closed and people couldn't park on Sunset.
Right.
And so we've had to park more in some of the neighborhoods, and we've heard about some of those complaints as well. And so the goal is to figure out a way to try to address parking, and having that additional property across the street gives us some flexibility to explore some creative parking options.
Yeah, and I think the parking struggles that you might have are more in the area of employees. Yes.
Yep. But we're this new building is 96,000 square feet. Our existing hospital is 135,000 square feet. We are almost doubling the size of the hospital.
Wow.
Now, some of that new building has some shelled space that we haven't built out yet, because we're working through that master facility plan.
What percentage is vacant?
Gosh,
a guess,
I would hate to even guess. Well, the whole top floor is shelled space, and then the first full floor where our dietary is at, I think it's got about 14,000 square feet. So. There's quite a bit of square footage there, and so as we figure out clinical services for that space, and as surgical volume continues to grow, as some of our other service lines continue to grow, radiology, cardiology, and so forth, that the need for parking is going to increase, and so we want to hit that need head on.
Not everybody might know what shelled space is.
So shelled space is basically space that it's just got walls around it, very limited in terms of its infrastructure. So cement floors, pipes sticking up out of the ground.
Okay. Unfinished.
Unfinished.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's essentially an open book, and anything can be written there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Or a blank book. Yeah.
A blank book.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, and then one more thing just before we go, and that is that President Kelly Ryan has been here a couple of times, and one of the things that she talked about was shopping local from an education standpoint. And I'm wholeheartedly with you. I mean, anytime that, even though the hospital is huge, it matters a bunch. People choosing to use those healthcare services local. They're essentially contributing to the wages that my wife is getting, and so it's one big circle.
It's probably harsh to say it this way, but if people don't eat, I feel like I'm picking on McDonald's today, but if nobody ate at McDonald's, we're probably not going to have a McDonald's here.
Right.
It's just simple supply and demand, and economics. And if people don't stay local for their health care, we're not going to have a hospital. It's simply
pretty simple.
Put that.
Yeah.
But the philosophy and the mindset of Grand Island Hospital, though, is we don't want you to come to us just because you feel like you have to. We genuinely want to earn your business. We want to earn your trust. We want to earn your respect. And I think we have numerous metrics. Again, the 4-star satisfaction award. These are patients who we can validate receive services from us, and they're telling us that after they receive services from us, oftentimes after they've gotten the bill already, they're filling out the survey and they're telling us that they had a great experience, and one of the top-notch experiences that you can get in healthcare in the United States. And we've got quality metrics that show that you are safer in our hospital than in many other hospitals in the United States. And we want to earn that privilege and that responsibility and that honor to take care of the local community. And we hope that they will return that respect and admiration and stay local for their health care as well.
Awesome. Jeremy, thanks.
Well, thank you for
having being here. Yeah, really appreciate it. And plug the public opening walkthrough.
Yeah, we would love to see you out there. I think you're going to be amazed.
It's tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow night from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
The formal ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be right around 6 o'clock. But yeah, bring the family out, see the space. I think it's something that you're going to be really proud of. And again, we built this for you. So.
And they're going to be able to walk through the ORs and
they'll be able to walk through the ORs.
Last time, probably they'll be able to do that. Yeah.
And hopefully you'll never have to see those ORs again. But at least if you do have to come or a loved one has to come, you can see the space and have a sense of confidence that this is a great space for healing and hope and for healthcare.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Hey, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Want to get us out of here?
Yep. September 26th, on this day, 1789, Edmund Randolph becomes the first U.S. Attorney General. And then that same year, 1789, Thomas Jefferson appointed the first U.S. Secretary of State. John Jay becomes the first U.S. Chief Justice. 1872, on this day, the Shriners opened their first temple in New York City. It was called the Mecca. 1964, TV sitcom Gilligan's Island, starring Bob Denver, debuts on CBS. And then 5 years later, The Brady Bunch debuts on ABC. 1982. This was a good day for TV because guess what happened in 1982? Knight Rider. Knight Rider debuted on NBC. 1986, on this day, Run DMC is the first rap group to hit the top 10 with their single Raising Hell. 2022, NASA's DART mission successfully crashes into the Dimorphos asteroid in the very first planetary defense test. On this day, the #1 movie in 1974, The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds. And then the quote of the day comes from Phillips Brooks. Character may be manifested in the great moments, but it's made in the small ones. One more time. Character may be manifested in the great moments, but it's made in the small ones.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
I
having me.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll see you guys soon. See you next Tuesday.